Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great. I don't know if you can pick up the background sounds, but it's early in the morning. The crows are just going crazy. The roosters are going crazy. Nobody's even here yet at the Home Depot. And the reason why I want to talk to you about this today is I was at the Home Depot and I got to be honest with you, I had a pretty frustrating experience. And after everything was said and done, I really started to think about the rise and falls of corporations. As corporations get big and then they collapse, why do they collapse? Right now, we are faced with a crazy economic crisis right now. And companies like Home Depot severely need two things: the real estate market to be strong and the consumer to be strong. Well, both of those are breaking right now as we speak. But there's actually more to the story. You see, recently, Home Depot and Lowe's have both come out with very interesting guidance as far as forward guidance for their sales, saying that the customer has changed, the consumer has changed, right? But it's not all that's changed. And I'm going to share with you a stressful story of something I went through yesterday. But before that, when I used to work growing up, I had my first job, my first tax-paying job when I was 14 years old, 15 years old, and it was in a local hardware store. And at that time, the big threat of the big Home Depot coming into our area was looming, and it was serious. But it wasn't serious to everyone that I worked with. The owners of the hardware store didn't care. I was actually selling hobby goods in that store and warning them, hey, we need to start coming up with some sales, some gimmicks, ideas like that. And I'm 14, 15 years old. And they didn't care. They said, hey, we've been here for 40, 50 years, something like that. They said, no, our customers are rock solid. They are going to stay with us. And as I started reading up on what was going on with Home Depot and the formation of the company, it was apparent to me that it was going to be a threat. Now, actually, this happened a little bit after I'd been working there for a while. I started there when I was 14, 15 years old. I worked there for some time. But what I saw is eventually when Home Depot came into this area, that hardware store lost all of its clients. And it wasn't until after Home Depot came in that they started to do these little interesting changes, trying to carry things almost like a home goods store, because Home Depot wasn't carrying those kinds of things. They were forced to carry different types of stuff because their tools and all of their hardware material were being just completely destroyed because this company came in and undercut their prices. So it was sad to watch them go, but as these companies rise, they also fall. And we see all of the behemoths falling: Sears, J.C. Penney's, now what, Bed Bath & Beyond, massive stores that you thought at one point. And put down in the comments section, I love, it's almost like a reminiscing memory lane kind of thing. What companies did you see that were big growing up that you never thought would have failed and now they're completely gone? Just put them down in the comments below. So getting to my story yesterday, and where I see it's not just the consumer changing and the economy changing, but also the company changing. You see, Home Depot just went through this massive change where they just gave this massive pay raise to its employees. And I worked in retail for about 8 years before going on to my current career. And back then, the customer was always right. Now, to be honest with you, I totally disagree with that whole premise because the customer is not always right. But I have to share this story with you and sort of the ideology or the thought process, behind the average consumer. And let me know down in the comment section if you see the same exact thing. So I go to Home Depot and all the time when I was flipping homes. And then when I started a construction company, it was widely known, even back around 2002, 2003, that you couldn't get any help in the store. There was no pro on every aisle. As a matter of fact, every time you're like in the plumbing aisle, you're like, hey, is somebody around here? Like, oh, I don't know where he is or she is. They're somewhere. And you're like running down the aisle. And I swear on the other side of the aisle, there was another employee going, you don't see me. I'm going over this aisle. I'm going over this aisle. I couldn't find anybody. Or the biggest thing I would get was, oh, this isn't my section. That was the big thing, right? They had pros in these different sections. And when you were in the electrical section, the electrical pro wasn't around. That's not my section. Well, you're on the aisle. Well, I'm just stocking it. Point being is that they've tried to change and get more help, right? But it just seemed like there was never anybody to help you. Fast forward, now you got more employees. That's great. There's always people running around asking, hey, how you doing? Do you need some help? So I go and order a large saw and air compressor the other day, and I knew it was large. I'm like, you know what? I could use some help, doing it, loading up in the truck. And I also knew that I'd went around the other day and I could not find one of the items that I wanted to buy anywhere in the store. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll just order online. So I get online, I order it, and it says, hey, you know what? They're both in the store. And the website's a little confusing. I ordered one, it said it's in the store, ready to go. I went to order the other thing, the compressor, and I knew they were in the store. It wasn't that big. It was, it was a whole kit with guns and all that stuff, air guns. And so, nail guns. My point being is, wouldn't that be great? You're at Home Depot. I'm gonna get I get an air compressor and 3 pew-pews. Point being is that I just seen in the store. As a matter of fact, they had a whole section of them. This big old, how Home Depot just takes, we got 50 of these. Just put them right in the middle of the aisle and you're trying to get around them in the cart. So I knew they had them. Unbeknownst to me, when I put it in my cart and I printed off the receipt and it said, hey, it's gonna be ready in 2 hours and we'll send you a text. Well, I'll get to what I missed on the paperwork. But I go in, I drive in 2 hours later, and I get a message on my phone. It goes, hey, half your order's ready. I'm like, that's sort of weird. I walk into the store, and I'm like, what's going on with half the order? And they go, oh, this compressor is special order. And I'm like, oh, what? And it says right here, oh, it's not going to be ready till the end of May. It's not going to be here at the store. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. I'm like, they're right there. There's a whole, see that big old thing? And the person looks at them, okay, but sorry, yours isn't coming until May. And I go, all right, well, I ordered it. I need it for a project. And it's right there. So can we make this happen? And they're like, no. I'm like, why not? Because you special ordered it. I'm like, okay, but it's right there. Can we just I'll pick it up. Now, mind you, you have to come in with your ID, right? And to prove that it's yours, that you paid for it. And they're like, no, you have to wait until the end of the May. And I go, okay, well, how's this? Since I'm the only person that could ever pick it up, how would you give it to me now and then put in your notes on the computer program that you're having, you already know my name, address, and stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a section over there that says notes. The guy already picked it up. We made it work. Everything's awesome. And they just wouldn't do it. So the manager comes up and he's walking around and doesn't want to say anything. And the lady's like, hey, can we help this guy out? And he goes, no, it's special order. I'm like, all right. How's this? And I'm not I'm frustrated, but not ticked off. And I go, you know what? Just, can you cancel the whole order? And I'll because I don't want to, I hate dealing with credits going back on the credit card and all that stuff and having to make sure that it went back on. Just cancel the whole order and I'll literally walk over there and I'll just buy it right now. I'm just going to buy it. And they go, okay. And I'm all, sweet. They go to cancel order. And they go, okay, first thing's canceled. Cool. And they go, oh, and we can't cancel the other thing for a few days. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, we can't cancel them both at the same time. I'm like, okay, you just said you could cancel order. Well, we'll have to make sure that it cancels. It's sort of a weird system. Like, that's exactly why I'm standing here in front of you right now. So then I said, fine, look, I'll go over and I'll buy this other, the saw stand. And I'm going to go over there and go get that. And they go, okay, it's over there. So I go walking down there. And I go, where are these saw stands? I can't find them anywhere in the store. And they point to the very highest part of the tool rack. And I go, okay, can you get one of those for me? I need to buy it. And they go, well, we have one down here. It's for somebody. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I still have my receipt in my hand. And they're like, okay, well, am I going to load it up? I'm like, no, I got to buy it because we canceled the order because there was a mess up with the other tool. And they're like, okay, well, you need to go back to the other side of the store and clear it with them. I go, I've already cleared it with them. They came and told me to come get it. I just want to buy it. And like, well, you can't just buy it. And I'm just like, what do you, and then now another manager shows up. Now there's 2 managers in the store. They can't do anything. And she's like, yeah, you can't just buy the tool. I'm like, what do you mean? I've got a credit card. There's a tool right there. And they're like, well, that one's waiting for someone. I'm like, I know, it's waiting for me. And I'm like, okay, how about this? And now I shouldn't be coming up with all these ideas. Why don't you go back up? Can you get another tool? And I'll go buy that one. And this is literally what the guy says. Look, dude, I'm just here working, man. She tells me she's the boss. I'm like, okay, can someone here sell me a tool? And he goes, yeah, you need to go back over there. I'm like, I'm not going back over there. I just want to buy a tool. And my point being is this. People tend to not think clearly. I think that 9 out of 10 people literally that are working these days, because like Home Depot says, they're having a hard time finding people, right? It seems like people don't have critical thinking skills anymore. There's a lot of people at certain levels of the workforce, I'm sorry to admit, but it's just like, they're not all there. Put it down in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. And my point being is that when companies don't get on top of this and empower their employees to go, look, if you see a problem, let's make this work with the customer. Let's bend over, and this isn't even bending over backwards. I just want you to get a tool off top rack, get it down there so I can put my credit card in this special fancy machine, and all of a sudden I can walk out with the tool legally, right? Not trying to do anything weird. Point being is that when companies can't see this and their management level, their lower tier management level can't solve a problem because there's so many regulations, there's so many things that could hurt their job, then all of a sudden what you see is that companies start to collapse. Why? Because their customers move on. Their customers figure something out. And in a day of e-commerce, they just easily go, you know what, the heck with this. I'm just gonna buy something online, have it shipped to my house. That's what's crazy to me. And that's what I think is happening right now in a lot of corporations. There's so much bureaucracy, so much red tape that it's pushing people down. And at the lowest levels, they're just like, look, dude, I'm literally not able to even make a comment or come up with an idea because I've got 5 bosses over me. So it's like Caltrans. Like I got literally 5 guys standing over the hole while I'm digging the ditch and they're all watching me, making sure I'm doing it right. So if you think about it that way, you start to really realize why corporate America right now is really coming down into a downhill spiral. It's literally like the fourth turning of America's corporations. I want to share that with you guys. Let me know down in the comments if you're seeing the exact same things, what are happening when you go into the store and you're trying to get customer service. And trust me, the customer is not always right. But in this case, if you can't go up to the top level and just get me a tool and I can buy it, because I don't even know why they didn't do it. It still just blows me away. But I just thought I'd share that with you because I'm starting to see the effects. All right, guys, that being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.